Hello, today we're going to be talking about fractions. So this is to review how we work with fractions. We can add, subtract, multiply, and divide numbers. Fractions are numbers, and so we want to be able to do that with these as well. So let's look at some examples to get us through those processes. So first example, we're going to simplify 2/3 plus 3/8. And so we definitely can add these, but in order to add fractions, we need a common denominator. Remember, denominator is the one on the bottom. So we're looking at 3 and 8. We want to say, what is the common number that those go into? So we might say 24. So we want both of the bottoms to be 24. So we need to figure out, first and foremost, how do we get from 3 to 24? And we say 3 times what gives me 24? It's times 8. So in order to do that, we have to multiply the top by 8. So we have 2 times 8, which is 16. Do the same thing on the other side. How do we get from 8 to 24? So 8 times 3 is going to be our magic number. Have to do that to the top. So 3 times 3 is 9. Now when we go to add those fractions, we are going to keep the denominator, but we add the numerators together, 16 plus 9. And again, you're welcome to use a calculator if you need to. 16 plus 9 is 25. And so our answer is 25/24. The last thing we need to do is just see if there is any way to simplify this. Again, we want to make things look as pretty as possible. So if there's any number that goes into 25 and 24 evenly, and looking at this, there's not. I realize the top is bigger than the bottom, so this one can stay just the way it is. Unless it specifies that it needs to be a mixed number, we don't really need to do that. Next example, 1 2/3 plus 5 3/8. So same process, except we have a mixed number. In this case, there's several different ways that we can go about this. But the one that I'm going to do is let's convert that mixed number to an improper fraction. So how do I do that? So I'm just going to try to draw a squiggly line for some scratch paper. So if I have 1 2/3, what happens is I take the whole number and I multiply it to the denominator. And then I take that answer and I add the numerator to it. So I get 5, and I keep the denominator. So this one becomes 5/3. I do the same thing with the bottom, 5 3/8, or the second one rather. And so 5 times 8, first and foremost, is 40. And then I add that to the numerator, so I get 43. So this one becomes 43/8 rather. 43/8. So that's what we have over here. We have 5/3 plus 43/8. Again, same process. We need to find a common denominator. This one happens to be 24 again, like the last example. And we need to figure out how we got there. So 3 times 8. So on the top, 8 times 5 is 40. Same thing on the other side. This one's times 3. This one might be a little bit harder to do in the head. No worries. 43 times 3 is 129. And then last but not least, we keep the denominator and we add the numerators. So it's 40 plus 129 on the top. 40 plus 129 is 169 over 24. Now, in this case, because the original problem was a mixed number, we probably want to make this one into a mixed number. So let's look at how we do that. So in this case, in order to make it a mixed number for us, we have to divide. So let's take a look. So basically we have 169 and we want to divide 24 into there. Again, you're welcome to use a calculator, but be careful, it's going to give you this weird decimal, and that's not what we're looking for. So, when we look at this, if we were to use a calculator, you're going to get 7.04166666. What we're looking for is that whole number, so it goes in 7 times. And now we have to multiply. 7 times 24 gives us 168. And then we subtract and we get 1. And so that 1 becomes part of our answer. So this answer is 7 and 1/24. All right, next example. We have 4 11s times 10 8s. So multiplication is straight across. Some of you might remember that we have to reduce our fractions, so some like to reduce as they go along, some reduce at the end. Doesn't matter, whichever way you want to do it. I'm going to go ahead and just multiply. So we multiply across. So it's 4 times 10 and 11 times 8. 4 times 10 is 40. 11 times 8 is 88. And again, we want to look to see what is common. Now, a lot of people try to find the biggest number because that's the shortest route. But if you don't quite know, like I might say, well, 2 I know goes in there. You can definitely go by 2 and then look at your answer and see if there's something bigger. It's not wrong to do it that way. It just might take a little more time. But in the end, you're going to get the right answer. So in this case, I might know that 4 goes into both of these. So I'm going to divide the top and bottom by 4. 40 divided by 4 is 10. 88 divided by 4. And again, you need your calculator. Please go ahead and use it. 88 divided by 4 gives you 22. And now we look and we say, well, no, something still can go in there. I think 2 can go into both of those. Totally fine. And divide them both by 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. 22 divided by 2 is going to be 11. And there we go. Nothing else goes in there, so our answer is 5 11ths. Next example, we are going to have 8 1/2 divided by 2 1/4. So again, in this case, we're going to need to convert them. So 8 1/2, so 8 times 2 is 16, plus 1 is 17, so 17 halves, divided by 2 1/4, so 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9/4. And the way we divide is we don't actually divide. We keep the first one the way it is. We change this to multiply, but we flip the second one. And now we know how to multiply. We multiply straight across. 17 times 4 over 2 times 9. 17 times 4 is 68. And 2 times 9 is 18. And again, we want to go ahead, since the original problem was a mixed number, we want to go ahead and take this and make it in a mixed number. So we need to do 68 divided by 18. We need to figure out how many times it goes in there. It goes in 3 times. 3 times 18 is 54. And then we need to subtract. 68 minus 54 gives us 14. Let me erase some of this so we have some room. So what do we have? 3 is going to be our whole number, and then we have 14 over 18. Now that's totally fine, except we have to see if this can reduce any. So it looks like 2 could probably go into both. So 14 divided by 2 is 7. 18 divided by 2 is 9. So our answer is 3 7/9. All right, let's look at our next example. It says find the product of 0.056 and 0.73. So we have to remind ourselves, what does the word product mean? And that means multiplication. So we're going to multiply these. 0.056 times 0.73. We can definitely do this longhand if you prefer. I will go ahead and show that, but you can go ahead and use a calculator. And so 3 times 6 is 18, 3 times 5 is 15, plus 1 is 16, 3 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1, and 3 times 0 is 0. We put a 0 placeholder for the next round, and then we also probably need to go ahead and erase our extra numbers up there. All right. 7 times 6 is 42. 7 times 5 is 35, plus 4 is going to be 39. 7 times 0 is 0, plus 3 is 3, and then 7 times 0. Now, we have a 0 there on the bottom that needs to be multiplied, but it's 0, so we're good there. Go ahead and add these up. So 8 plus 0 is 8. 6 plus 2 is 8. 9 plus 1 is 10. So we need to carry. 3 plus 1 is 4. Now, how do I know what my number is? I have all these decimals. The decimal is however many places were after the decimal in your problem. So there were 3 places past the decimal here and 2 here. So that means it needs to move 5 places. So right now our answer is 4088. Our decimal's at the end. We need to move it 5 places to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which means that we need to add an extra 0 in there for that placeholder. And that's our answer. So 0.04088. And again, you can use your calculator on this one. No big deal. Just reminding you how to do it when you don't have a calculator handy. All right, last example on this one. This one says solve the division problem. So we have 9.2 and divided by 52.063. Again, calculator is fine, but how do I do this if I don't have a calculator? So to divide decimals, we can divide them just fine. We just can't have a decimal on the outside of the box. And so we have to move that decimal. But in order to move that decimal over, that means it moves the number inside the box's decimal as well. So this becomes 92 into 520.63. Now in this case, our answer, the decimal goes straight above the other decimal to help keep us in check with what our answer is. And now we divide. So we have to figure out 92 into 5 doesn't go. 92 into 52 doesn't go. How many times does 92 go into 520? And so in this case, you might use your calculator to help you out in this case or just be able to see how many times it goes in. We're going to try 5 here. And so then we have to multiply. 5 times 92 gives us 460. And then we subtract. So 520 minus 460 gives us 60. Now, how do I know I picked a number that goes in as much as it can? This number right here is going to be the smaller, or is going to be smaller than our number on the outside of the box. So if it's smaller, we're good. If it's the same or if it's bigger, then that's when I have to know that I have to change my number on top to a bigger number. All right, so now we found 60, we bring down the next number. So how many times does 92 go into 606? And so we're going to try 6. And so 92 times 6 gives us 552. And we subtract. I'm running out of room, of course. 606 minus 552 gives me 54. So I'm going to write it over here, and then we bring down that next number. So it's 543. And do the same process again. So how many times will 92 go into 543? Let's go ahead and do 5, because I don't think it'll go in more than that. We'll see. You can also check, like in this case, 520, 5 was our number, and then our next number was 606, and so that gave us 552. So notice that's too much, so 5 is going to be what we have. 5 times 92 is 460. Subtract. 543 minus 460 gives us 83. So we still have, like, we can still keep going and get more numbers. It just depends on what they ask us to round to. In this case, we would just keep adding zeros here if we needed to keep going. And so it'd be, how many times does it go into 830? And that would be a 9 up here. So if it asks us to round to 2 decimal places, knowing that we have the 9 there, then it would be 5.66 would be our answer. Just depends on what the problem is asking you for. All right, so that's it for this video. If you, while you're working in the lesson, have any questions, make sure to ask your teacher. Have a great day.